And there we have it. We finally have a conclusion to 86. It's taken a while. And again, like I mentioned in my previous episode impressions, a much needed break that they obviously needed to get this show completed in a way that was just of high quality. I already said with the last impression, it looked absolutely incredible. The directing was phenomenal. The music, everything made it worth the wait. And now with this episode gone, we are finally done with the first season of 86. And I have to say, I just love this show. This show was just absolutely incredible. It does make me a little sad that it didn't get as much attention with the Crunchyroll Anime Awards anyways. I know that with a lot of other publications, it got its respect, and it was much needed respect. 86 was a really great show. Now, this episode itself, it was a solid episode. I could not have asked for more for a completion of everything. I'm so glad they didn't leave it on a super cliffhanger. Obviously, we have an indication of where it's going from here. I just don't feel like I'm being left going, is anybody alive? Like, the way the first part ended, if they didn't have a second part already announced, I would have been furious because it just left it on a really bad cliffhanger. But with this particular ending, it felt complete. It felt like a chapter close. Everybody's together. We know where they're going next, and it was a nice send-off. So really did love the fact that it did that. What was odd is I had thought that this episode would possibly be us getting a full picture of what happened at the Magnolia Empire. It does get into that. It just didn't show it. I was kind of expecting them to jump back and show us everything that kind of transpired, but instead they gave us the footnotes. They gave us the summary of what all transpired to get us to the point that we're at now, and it did it really well. It did it in a way that kind of signified that Magnolia itself is moving forward as well. That Giad came in and pretty much helped them. At the same time, almost slapping on the wrist. It gave a little bit of an indication that was a little bit of a slap on the wrist and don't do this again kind of thing. So it kind of indicated by having a lot of people watching their decision making, especially when it came to them assigning Lena to the Giad. You have this little meeting where these two guys are off the side making notes, and the guy obviously looks like he's stressed out, telling Lena to do this. And you have these two photos off the side that obviously indicate that he's trying to make himself out like he likes the 86 now, like he's very uncomfortable pictures of him with children. It was good. But yeah, so I guess we can jump into that. Lena's side of things, like I said, unfortunate that it was like the footnotes, like it was just a very brief summary of what happened. But it gives us enough clarification. We had the whole build up to that point. We had the point which Lena's like, we have to do what we need to do. I'm going to take control of the 86 and I'm going to save District 1. And that was her going out of her, where she's allowed to be. and of course we knew that her uncle went off to what seemed like force the command to let her do it. Again, unfortunately, we don't get an idea what happens to him. He just, back here, he left her to do what she wanted to do. And then now she's getting these brief memories of, well, thank you, Uncle. We pulled it off. Things are going forward. But I guess we're just supposed to assume he's dead. We don't get to see it, which we don't necessarily have to, but it is, again, one of those little kind of, it's just briefly running through it rather than showing us, which, again, you can argue is a good thing or bad thing. But yeah, indicates that she basically took the front. They got the 86 in there. She led them. It shows some brief shots of them standing behind her, obviously respectingly. She was on the battlefield with them. So that she gained a lot of respect from those people. But when they were kind of basically holding a defense line, that's when Giad came in, saved them, and essentially Giad said, hey, 86, if you want citizenship, you have it. And some people left, and then you also have this aspect of the Alba now having to realize they've been living a lie for a long time, and there's some that still harbor that sense that they're better and more superior, while others just want to survive. And equally, showing in some cases, the Alba want to join the fight. Like they have realized that this was a mistake, or they realized they've been told a lie. It showed younger Alba that were it seemed like they were indicating they were signing up to join the war. So really cool to kind of see that shift the sands. Obviously, some aren't going to accept it. Some are confused, and some are trying to make amends, and some want to fight. So it's a good mix. And even with Lena's perspective, she indicates that, like, things are going well. Like, she recalls Uncle's mention of the idea that her dreams are they're never going to happen. They're just dreams, and it's going to shatter in front of her. And she's like, well, it's happening. We're moving forward. We are in a progress of changing things for the better. But yeah, conveniently enough, she's assigned to this new group, this new front that is going to go to the north of the District 1, in order to essentially create this group that will go in and attack these key points for the Legion. And yes, conveniently enough, it's her assigned to it, and conveniently enough, she's assigned to all the 86 that we know, which is Shin and his team. So that was it's one of those things of like, well, that's convenient, but at the same time it's like, but I'm happy. I'm happy. We got this massive tease in the last episode of seeing them all see each other, and this episode's like, okay, let's do it. We tease you enough. Let's just have them see each other, which was really cool. Obviously, having this point where they're assigned it, and everybody's like, yeah, this person's fine, even though I guess that's the troubling thing. Like, despite everything that we've kind of been through, and the fact that nobody but Shin knows it's her, everybody in Shin's group's like, yeah, that's fine. We'll take this Alba to be our command. It was odd. I mean, you can argue that maybe they had an idea that it was possibly her, but for anybody to accept an Alba, a foreigner, to be their command now they're with the Giad doesn't really make sense to me. At the same time, I don't think they care because they've dealt with it for long enough. Like, oh, we're getting command by an Alba again. Who cares? As long as we're on the battlefield. They're like used to it. But despite that, it was a fun little homecoming, them coming home, and the president's like welcoming them in, and they all get presents, and they're all really weird presents, giving us a little brief image of each one of them, again, enjoying life again. You know, it's not as if they always have to be on the battlefield. It's not like they always have to not be on the battlefield. It almost felt like this whole scene was that kind of acceptance that they could do both. Like, they can have a life outside of things. And so far, it really does seem like it's continuing what we had before when they were briefly off the battlefield. Kurina, it really does seem like she's either just really into clothes, or it's possibly pointing at the idea that she could be somebody like a fashion model or somebody that's into style or something in the future. Obviously, having Theto be really into art, Raiden getting into carpentry, and Anju into cooking, and apparently Shin into cooking too. Had this brief moment with Frederica showing Shin how to make, was it French toast, and they all try it, and Anju gets so excited about it, she runs out to Raiden like, look at this, he actually did it. It was funny. Additionally, it had this brief moment where it shows Annette talking with Lena about this whole reassign thing, indicating that Annette was also reassigned as well to the Giad as a researcher, and her indicating at this point, wait, this comm that they were using at the Giad is exactly like ours. And the only way they could have got that if somebody survived. So I think that was a point when Lena kind of got an idea that, okay, the 86, the group, Shin's group could still be alive. But yeah, that's when we get into the big meetup, which was, I think, the pinnacle of the episode. Like I said, getting an idea of what happened to the Magnolia was great. Getting an idea that the Alba themselves were changing. And yes, there's still some people holding on to their past. This was the key point. Like, this is where everything in this episode really ramped up. I'll be honest, up until this point, it was like, this is going to be a pretty meh episode, I think. Not bad, but okay. This was a point where everything ramped up. And it was interesting because early on with this whole segment, they kind of get it from a perspective of Fido. And here was the weird thing, and I totally forgot about this. They show, I'm going to say again, some brief clips of Shin as a child, like infant, like young. And I didn't realize it until I went back and checked again that indeed it was in the first season, or the first part, they had this point in which it showed Fido's life. It was a flag basically for him dying, because this writer loves flagging things, including robots. They had this brief moment where we thought Fido was going to be destroyed, and it showed this progress from the point that Shin met Fido, when he met him on the battlefield. Shin came up very young and said, hey, it looks like all of your people are done. Do you want to come with me? And that indicated to us that was the first time they met. But yes, even in that episode, they showed a brief snapshot. And in that episode, I think it was episode 10. Yes, episode 10, they showed a brief snapshot from way back. Well, the meeting point was 2144. But the very, very quick brief snapshot that we got of Shin actual first meeting was indicating something back in 2138. So one brief shot was 2138, where it showed Shin very young, looking down into the grass where this camera was looking up. So obviously something very small. Behind him was Annette, and then over here was Shin's brother. So this was showing us way back when Annette was with them, and way long before the whole battle. Way before 86th District even was created. And then we did it again in this episode. It wasn't 2144 when they first met on the battlefield. It showed us a shot of 2132 and 2137. Way back when Shin was like an infant, they show this brief shot of him very young in diapers and everybody around him. So again, I don't know what that significance is going to be. it kind of implies that whatever machine was there when he was an infant was some sort of technology that was eventually put into Fido, and then possibly Fido went onto the battlefield with Shin's brother. And then later on, Shin just came across him. So again, I don't know how significant that's going to be to the whole grand scheme of things. Possibly it's going to be something that will connect to the Legion. If Fido is so smart, it might be some sort of prototype of the thing that the Legion was created from. That's the only thing that can really make a significant story-wise, world-building-wise type of connection. Otherwise, it's just going to be, well, it was Shin's toy, and that toy it fell into a robot for battle. Who knows? But it definitely seems like it's going out of its way to indicate that Fido is something important, and it's been around for a long, long time, even when, again, Shin was very young. And then it's always been watching after Shin this entire time. But yeah, all these shots were really cool. I mean, they're just very brief. The music was fantastic going over the top of it to add a little bit more emotion. Obviously, showing all these little brief moments in each of their lives. Like it's showing Raiden, showing this brief moment with him getting an argument with Shin back here, and obviously the argument they had here recently. Going to Theato, back when he was thinking that they were going to be next, and he was drawing images, and then makes these goofy images of Shin with Lena. Kurina and her talking about how this Lena girl, she's known Shin longer than her, so obviously she has that over Lena, and then the brief shot of her being uneasy. Again, technically a shot that was in episode 10 of her essentially wondering what she can do for Shin. Anju and all the terrible stuff she's gone through, wondering if this cat with Lena possibly could be the cat they had before. And again, her struggles when they lost, gosh, I don't even know what his name is anymore. when they lost her lover. And yeah, eventually getting up to the build up to the point in which they all finally meet, which was such a good scene because everybody but Lena knew. And so when Lena's like sitting there introducing her stuff and everything and saying we've never met before, and they're like, no, actually we have met. And then Shin reveals like, yeah, my name's Shin and here's your team. And yeah, she starts freaking out and going, each one of them, and starts tearing up. It was like, oh gosh, super, super emotional scene because there's so much in this scene because one, it's all these people that have fought by her side over the comms for so long. The fact that now she's standing equal with them. This is the first point where she finally can stand in front of them. Plus you have the aspect of Lena realizing that these people that she sent off to what would have been their death survived. And so these are finally a stack of these pictures she doesn't have to put in that box. It was so beautifully done. And even equally with the whole scene with her going to the monument and being able to place these pictures right next to these slabs that Shin had placed there and he stepped away from finally. Both of her and Shin technically having the same mindset of no longer leaving people behind. It was just, like I said, it was a perfect conclusion to everything they've kind of built up so far. And even with Shin's side, equally the same in the idea that he's finally able to say, look, I'm no longer leaving anybody behind. And I'm no longer seeing it as, it's a shift of perspective. He's obviously shifting his perspective of his mindset, no longer seeing that being a Reaper is a bad thing, seeing that being a Reaper is a good thing. That he no longer wants to leave people behind. He wants to build a future. And again, that's equal the same as Lena. She's not wanting to leave anybody behind and work towards this future. And now with them coming together, again, it leads up to what's possible for the future, which is just to essentially take down the Legion and create this future that everybody can enjoy. This future without a battlefield. This future that Shin even says at some point he wants to take them to the ocean, see things that they've never seen before, rather than always focusing on the next battle. Which does remind me, yes, we did have a final closure to the whole situation with Nina, Eugene's sister. That was nice, having this guy finally come forward and say, look, I'm sorry, I did this and I made her hate you. Admitting that he never could accept that it could be partially his fault that Eugene died, rather than he chose to basically blame Shin and at the same time also make her focus on him. Not that it was like, again, before, like I think I kind of insinuated that it possibly could have thing of he just wanted Nina to have a purpose in life, and that was to hate Shin. It was just literally he was feeling guilty for Eugene's death, and so he blamed Shin, and then he brought her into the picture as well, bringing her into this little state of vengeance. But no, it was cool having him leave behind the photo, and that basically make Nina realize that the two of them were actually really close. Like, this picture was a sign that Eugene was happy with Shin. That Shin would have never done this because Shin was with him. And Eugene was happy with him. Yeah, overall, fantastic episode. I forgot Frederica wanting to surprise Shin as well. The crane goes out and grabs her. It was so funny. Again, really fantastic episode. Just the entire series has been absolutely fantastic. I really do hope this gets a second season. I don't think we've had anything really mentioned for it so far. I don't even know if they have enough content to do it for. But this writer continues to very much so impress me. And equally, the studio continues to impress me with how well they basically put this together. And again, despite that issue with scheduling and the delays, it was all worth it in the end. It's one of those cases where anybody that watches it in the future is never going to know this happened. And you can't really blame anything really on the show itself, because in the end, it's a phenomenal show, and it just did everything it possibly could to destroy me. So, love it to death. Aside from the fake out deaths, every 2 episodes, great show. Love it to death. And I'm going to miss it. At this point, we no longer can look forward to 2 more episodes. We have to look forward now to whatever possibly could come in the future. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below, comment, let me know what's all the episodes, subscribe if you haven't already, share this video if you can, support us on Patreon, I'll throw a tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.